Welcome to the IBEX Method Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Foutz. Steve Beta is not here with us today. He's on baby leave. He just had his first child, so miracle baby. Congratulations to him. Today we have Lindsay Walter. She is a coach, trainer, athlete, and she's an ambassador for St. Jude, Noon Hydration, Head Sweats, Garmin and Oxygen Magazine, Elite Team, run coach, health educator. And the main topic today is going to be goal setting, but I think we have a lot to dive into based on the things that Lindsay has accomplished and just the amazing stories that she has. So we'll go ahead and get started. How you doing, Lindsay?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for joining us. Again, obviously the topic today is going to be goal setting, but I think the first thing I'd like to start is I found you on Instagram. I think like as an Instagram suggestion. And it might have been like a stayhard hashtag or something like that. And then coincidentally, after I started following you, I saw as I was signing in for like the Marine Corps Marathon last year or something like maybe this year, your picture showed up on one of their main advertisements or something like that on their website, which I thought was pretty cool. But so tell me a little bit about yourself and what you're into, how you got started.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Wisconsin, and basketball was like my life. That was my sport growing up. I played in college in Minnesota Duluth, and I just am by nature a super competitive person. And so after I was done playing college basketball, I really just needed something to do. So I wanted to run a marathon just to kind of check it off my bucket list. There's Grandma's Marathon, which is in Duluth. And once I ran my first marathon, I was absolutely hooked on it. I think just like always being an athlete, like when my college basketball career was over, I like needed something just to occupy my time to just train and work towards. And also when I was 2, I lost all my hair due to the autoimmune condition alopecia. Growing up, it was super hard. I wore a wig, really ever since I really can remember, until like into my 20s. So a good, 20 years with it, just being like bullied and teased all the time and just never really feeling comfortable and not having family support or really knowing how to talk about that. Sports were just always such a healthy outlet for me. Even, all those years playing basketball, I still wore my wig. But I also still had like a distraction to kind of focus on. And then when I started running more, just the more I was crossing finish lines, and just the running community really was so encouraging to me, just because everyone is so different. Everyone looks different, everyone trains differently and has different goals. And that was something that was so encouraging to me, which really it was like through running that I just really learned like self-acceptance, and really led me to stop wearing my wig and just really finding kind of like who I was truly like made to be. And that also like propelled me to start a pen pal program for kids with alopecia, just to really like give back and be that person that I needed when I was younger. But yeah, just marathons, ultra marathons. Now I like love it. And I can't imagine my life not being a runner. Whereas like growing up, I didn't want to run more than a mile. So it's crazy how much that can change.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I guess one thing I want to ask too. So you went from basketball to running. How was it from going from a team dynamic to an individual type? What was that like for you?
I would say definitely like I've always been just so like self-motivated and driven. So like even like playing basketball, I would still love to like go and shoot hoops in my driveway for hours. And I did like so much like on my own that like, I mean, it was definitely different, like not having your teammates there, but I think also just being like from a young age, just like super independent and always wanted to do stuff like by myself. It actually was like an easier transition. Just having that like very self like motivated side to me. But yeah, I definitely like missed my teammates and things like that. But again, I feel like that's why the running community has been so great, because you may not technically have teammates, but like I feel like you also still do have teammates in a sense.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. I think obviously I think that I'm a runner. I can definitely relate to that. Like you mentioned too, everyone kind of has their own story. Everyone has their own goals that they're working towards, their own things that motivate them. And but everyone that goes through it kind of understands like there's a suck to it that you just have to embrace. And it's one way to encourage each other. So that's awesome. So when was the first time you ran a marathon? Do you know what year that was?
It was June 2012.
Okay. So you've been in for a good 8 years now, and then you've gotten into, I saw you,
Yep.
I don't know how many marathons you ran. I got to look at your Instagram page to figure that out. I think it's, do you know that number off the top of your head at this point?
45.
45. That's what I was thinking. Okay. And then how many ultra marathons?
So I've run 5 ultras.
Okay.
And hopefully I'll have 2 more coming up like early 2021.
Awesome. That's awesome. So when you ran your first marathon, what, and kind of moving into the context of goal setting, I guess, like what, was it a goal to then go ahead and run another marathon? Was it a goal to run faster? Like what got you going in the direction of just continuously running?
Yeah, so definitely my first marathon, looking back, I made so many rookie mistakes. Just like I didn't drink any water throughout it. I think like my training kind of looking towards like it, I was like, oh, you just like go and run, just like so naive and just like so ignorant, honestly. But yeah, my training was really kind of questionable. Like I knew I could like run, but I had no idea how far I was running. Like I didn't own any kind of like watch that would have told me that. So I had like no idea what training was even like. I went on a few long runs. And so like definitely like the aftermath of the marathon was tough, but crossing the finish line and just like, you know, when you're like coming down the home stretch and you're like so exhausted, but just like everyone is cheering for you and like just the feeling of crossing the finish line and just like them like giving you your medal and everyone's just cheering for you and it's like congratulations, like, but right away as soon as I crossed the finish line I was like, oh, I could get such a faster time, and like so immediately like I just wanted to like become faster and just like loved it. But yeah, it was just like once I did it and I knew I could do it, then I was like, okay, like I want to become better at this.
So 45 marathons later, 5 ultras later, what are you working on now, right? What's your goals? You said 2021, you have goals that you want to accomplish. What are those specific goals that you're looking towards?
So hopefully March 13th, I'll be running my first 100 miler, which is just honestly like my biggest goal right now is just 100 miler. I feel like after I did my first ultra, I just like went big and did a 50 miler. And I was also, people were doing the 100 miler that same weekend. And like, I was proud of myself for finishing, but I was like, oh, I need to do the 100 miler. So that has just been something I've wanted to do and just kind of the way everything kind of happened this past year, which is like Boston and kind of things like that. Yeah. That's not really going to be happening in this upcoming April. So I felt like it was the perfect opportunity just to switch from marathon training and to just go after some ultras right now. Just I feel like those are less likely to be canceled. Yes, 100 miler is my like big goal right now, and hopefully March 13th.
Nice, that's awesome. So 2 things that kind of come to mind. I know that again, knowing your story, you know, there were some setbacks growing up with the alopecia. And I know recently you were working on, I think a 50 miler and you had gotten injured at some point. So obviously as you're going through life and you're going through these obstacles, how do you overcome those and how do you utilize goal setting to get you to that next step, if you will, if that makes sense?
Yeah. I think like just like setting a goal and like having the goal that like I want it like for myself and not like letting other people like influence that. But like once you have a goal, no matter what it is, if it's important to you, like you'll find a way to make it happen. And I think for me, like my goal, just whether it's my 100 mile or 50 mile or just like whatever it is, like once I have a goal, like I want to do it for myself and like I'm like nothing's going to stop me from doing it. And I think just like staying like so focused on that and like kind of stay in your own lane and everything. So that would be just like my biggest thing, and that also kind of realizing that like stuff isn't always going to go your way, whether it's in a race or life or anything like that, but like just to keep going and like keep pushing forward, because when you eventually do hit your goal or, you know, things work out how you want, like it's going to be so sweet and like so worthwhile, but just like not letting yourself get discouraged, like even though it is like easy to do, but just always trying to like stay positive and then truly just like being grateful for, I mean, everything that like you have. And just like, I don't know, like even during like all this training, like sometimes it gets really hard, but I was like, man, like I get to do this. Like I've set this huge goal and like, I get to do this and like, I'm healthy and I like get to be working for it, which I feel like really is something that like, I don't know. I feel like I would take it for granted, just like my health and being able to run. And now I'm like, man, if I didn't have running, like, I don't know how I would have gotten through this like past year.
Yeah. Wow. I think you hit on a lot of key points, and not to sound cliche, like the attitude of gratitude. I think every time I see something that you share online, you're always smiling, you always have a positive message. I think that's one thing that attracted me to, your page and the content that you provide. It's I can relate to that. And I think as people are going to hear this, they're going to be, well, that's just who she is. She's just naturally a positive person and goal oriented. And I'm not like that. So how do you, there's obviously a mindset that comes with this. How do you, and obviously you kind of hit on it. You do battle yourself. There are days where you're going to be down in that. How do you pick yourself up and just push yourself to keep going?
Yeah, I think it kind of goes back just to like having that like internal drive and like motivation just to like want to be the best and like to want to succeed. And I feel like it really comes down to like you choosing your attitude. Like you have to choose to be positive. Like, I don't feel like people are just naturally born positive. Like you have to choose to be positive. You have to like choose to look at the bright side. And of course it's really easy to kind of do the opposite of that. But I feel like it's a choice every day. Like I'm choosing to wake up every day and like to have a grateful attitude, even when stuff like doesn't go my way. And kind of the same thing with just like having goals, like you choose to do that. Like, I don't know, I just love having something like to train and work towards. I don't know, I feel like it just gives me such like purpose and fulfillment. And I don't know, I just enjoy the like challenge too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I could definitely relate to that. I think, so my health issue, I have Crohn's disease, and a couple of years ago, I started a treatment where it just completely wrecked my joints. And long story short, I got to some point to where I was like, this is the worst I'm ever going to feel. I need to do something about it. And I found little successes throughout my day. I was like, let me just get out of bed today. Like if I could just get out of bed, that'd be great. If I could just crawl across the living room floor, down the steps, like that'd be. And then, I had a treatment one day and I'm like, this is, again, the worst I'm ever going to feel. Like, what can I do actively? So I did a 1 modified push-up. I was exhausted. My knees are swollen. But I think when it comes to goal setting, it doesn't have to be these huge glamorous things. It's just, it could be these little things. And I think that, like you mentioned, right? Like once you do those, just being grateful for the fact that you were able to, the little steps that got you here, the big steps that got you there, and overcoming. And I don't know, I love the journey of it all too. But I don't know, it's cool. You kind of just grow in the process. One thing I want to ask when it comes to goal setting, are you time bound? Is there ever like a time restriction in which you want to attain something? Are you kind of like loosey, like, I think I want to do this, I'll train for it? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I would say definitely like every year I've always picked like a spring and fall marathon where I like want a PR or set like a certain time goal.
Okay.
So I think like always having some kind of like goal race, and some of the other races I use like just as like a training run or just like to practice, like whether it's nutrition that I'm trying, maybe something different, or just to see like where I'm at like fitness wise. But I still like always go in saying like, oh, like I want to hit this time goal, but then I have 2 races where I like really wanted to happen, but I guess I don't ever go in with like, oh, this is like just going to be fun. Like I'm just going to run this for fun.
Yeah.
So I definitely like always have a goal, but like I always have at least 2 races where I like really want to like have my best race.
Nice. Is there anything else you want to touch on when it comes to like the mental side of goal setting?
I guess one thing like that I just like value and think is so important is like just to be like your own biggest fan. Like you have to like believe you're going to do it. Like you can't ever go into like a race or a workout or like an interview or just anything thinking that like you're not going to get it or you're not going to succeed. Like you always have to think that like you're going to, because if you go in like defeated before you even start, like then you've already lost. I think like just always going in thinking that like you're going to get that job or like you're going to hit those like splits. And if you don't, like it's a bummer, but like I feel like it's easier to kind of deal with it if you go in with like a positive attitude. Yeah,
no, that's great. I think that's wise words from Miss Lindsay Walter there. I appreciate that. So high mileage, you got a lot of things going on when it comes to training. How do you sustain? I mean, there's nutrition, there's, water intake. How do you make sure that you're getting proper rest? Like what is the sustainment process to hit a goal, to push through that goal, to move on to the next level? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like there's just like the running side of it, which is obviously so important, but also like taking care of your body. Like outside of that, like, I mean, for me, it's like waking up like 30 minutes, I mean, like earlier than what I usually would, just to like foam roll, to stretch, and to just like do all of those things that like helps injury prevention and like when I'm done with my run, like no matter how tired I am or how much I just want to like go and eat, like I still take the time to like stretch and do like all of those little things, because I do really think like that's why I've been able to stay like as injury free as I have, just because like it is like the foam rolling and like all of that, which is so important. And then cross training, strength training, like, I mean, I'm not lifting like heavy weights, but it's just like, you know, single squats and lunges and things like that, which doesn't take like a ton of time, but it's like definitely something to like commit to just to be like the complete athlete. And then just also being like very mindful of like what I'm eating, the amount of water I'm taking in. I don't follow like a set diet, but I mean, I am like obviously like trying to eat healthy and stuff like that, but also like not depriving myself of things. Like if I want to like eat donuts, like I'll definitely do that. But yeah, I think just like being mindful of that, and then just drinking like a ton of water as well.
Wow. Yeah, I think when I'm really just taking away from this conversation, there's the mental, the physical, like you kind of embody the whole concept of it all, where it's just like having the right positive attitude, putting energy behind what it is that you're thinking about, you know, and then, you know, honoring your body in a way that it could perform in the way you want it to, which I find to be pretty incredible. Yeah. How did you get to where you are today? Like the person that you are today, how did you get to this point?
I would say definitely like my faith has played a huge role in just like who I am today. And I think just like my upbringing, you know, I'm not very close with my family, and it was just very like an unsupportive, kind of like unloving type of environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember like when I was in college and kind of on my own, I was like, you know, like I'm going to choose to be that person that like shows everybody love and shows everybody positivity, just because that's not what I had. But I know like that's like what I would have wanted, and like the person like I want to be. And so that's something that's like so important to me. So I think just like making that choice to do the opposite of like what I had as a child. And I feel like that really has also shaped just like being like someone that like I would want to meet. And so that also just really like inspires me every day, just to kind of like be positive and like be smiling and just like be really grateful. But yeah, just kind of doing the opposite of like what I was. And yeah, and just again, just having, and I know it sounds like super cliche and I've repeated myself so many times, but just like being grateful. Like I truly am grateful for just like a lot of things I have. And I think like growing up, I hated my alopecia and it was really hard, but like now today I'm like, no, this is like the best gift. Like it's opened just like so many opportunities for me, and has really just like shown me like what truly matters in life, and has been like such a great like filter for people and just like situations and things like that. And so now I'm grateful for it. And it's true, like it kind of all like does come full circle, and it definitely takes time. It took me like many, many years. But yeah, I'm just grateful, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I think there's a lot to be said for that. Just kind of getting into my story, I guess. I ended up burning out in high school from running. I just ran too much. People saw me as like, I don't know, like motivating and inspiring or whatever. But for me, I'm like, I'm struggling. I'm having a hard time. And then I joined the Marine Corps. And I did really well because, I mean, I don't know, I just did really well in that environment. I grew up in that environment in one way or another. And then I ended up with Crohn's disease. And then I'm like trying to perform in a high performance environment. And then kind of was just like on the verge of losing it all, you know. And at some point I was like, at the time I was 26 years old, I was like, I can't accept to be like being 26 years old and just being retired and doing nothing with my life. I got to do something, you know. And I don't know, just being grateful that I was still able to just live and have a life. And I'm like, you know, as long as there's breath in me, like I still have a purpose and I still have something to work towards. And no, I just say all this. I could just relate wholeheartedly with everything you're saying, to be honest. And now I'm at a point where like I am grateful and I'm very thankful for the things that I have in life and where I am in life. And I know that it doesn't come easy. And, you know, anytime I can encourage somebody else to just see the best in them and call that out in them, you know, I think that I'd love to do that. And some people are kind of they're put off by that because it's not common. Like I never had that growing up, you know?
Yeah.
And again, when I see you and your energy, where your mindset is, you're very focused, you're very determined, but you're very loving. And I could just see that in like the way you share and the things that you do. And it's greatly appreciated. I think that if people could just see what you're up to, you know, check you out on Instagram, that there's a lot of things that they can learn from when it comes to what it is that you're doing. But I guess I would ask, you talk about faith, like how much has faith played a role in where you are today?
Yeah, definitely a ton. I mean, I didn't grow up. I mean, I always knew like who God was and everything, but like we didn't really grow up going to church a ton and things like that. But it was really like in college when I slowly like, you know, a friend invited me to church. And I was like, yeah, like I'll go. And it was like really then like that's when I like really started to kind of like come to grips with my alopecia and kind of like, you know, I like need to learn to be okay with this. And it just was something like it's hard to explain, but like when it happens to you, like you just know, like you just feel God's presence, or like you're just like in church or just like any kind of moment, and you're just like you just feel this like presence, like it's gonna be okay, or like it's all good. And that's like truly what I felt, and it just really kind of inspired me to like start reading the Bible and like digging deeper into my faith. And like the more I was doing that, like the easier it started to become, like just with my alopecia and just kind of accepting like my family for like what that whole situation was. And just like honestly like changing my mindset as well, just to be like really positive and grateful. I think as a kid, like I mean I was just like a basic kid, like I mean I was definitely like really quiet and like reserved, just because like having alopecia was hard. It just, you know, but I think like the more I was like becoming just like more my faith was growing, the more I was like, no, like I have so much to be grateful for, like I have so much to share and just like everything. And then I just became so much more confident in just like who I am. I feel like it's like who God like called me to be, and just like living my life now. I feel like if it wasn't for my faith, that like has been the biggest thing, or just like the way I kind of deal with situations. If something like doesn't go my way or it's hard, like I also know like there's reason and purpose in that. And when things don't work out, like it's like rejection is God's protection. Like no matter what that is, like I just know like his plan is like always greater. And so if something doesn't work out how I wanted to, I'm like, well, it just wasn't, it wasn't meant to. So I feel like it's definitely easier to kind of deal with like disappointments and setbacks and things like that. But yeah, it's played like the biggest role.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I think there's so many things I want to touch on now, but again, I kind of see you in the light of who you are today, and I kind of know your backstory. But I'd imagine with alopecia, I mean, reading your story, seeing the video, there's a lot of like feeling as if you don't belong, feeling insecure, things of that nature. And I mean, is it your faith that kind of changed your mindset? Is there something else that played a role in it?
Yeah, I would say definitely like my faith. I think also just having like a really like good group of friends that like from college who are still like my best friends today, who like didn't care, and they were like the first people that I really ever told about my alopecia. So I think like just surrounding myself with like really good people also was really helpful.
Yeah, and actually, I'm glad you said that, because it was another question I wanted to ask earlier. Was I know you mentioned coaches and stuff like that. So when you go into your training environments, I mean, do you have a group of people that are helping you like plan for your goals and kind of working with you through all that, or are you on your own, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so I definitely have a coach who helps me in kind of like all aspects. And I really have enjoyed him. I do talk to a sports psychologist too.
Nice.
Especially kind of leading up, the more I've been kind of diving into ultras, and going into my 100-miler as well. But I think it also is just like really healthy, like to have like the whole like mental side of it. Like sometimes not even talking about sports, but obviously like I still have a lot of feelings and emotions just with like family and things like that, especially like when the holidays come and like all that kind of stuff. So I think it's just been like really healthy just to have someone to talk to who like isn't going to have any biases at all. And I feel like that also really, again, like the whole mental side to it, even though I feel like you can be as like positive and like choose that every day, but like there are some things that like still like happen. So I think that has also been really great for me. Just also, yeah, I think it's huge just to take care of your like mental health as well, just to kind of stay like ahead in that. But yeah.
Wow, a lot of good things. You know, the one thought that came to my mind was, you know, the Bible talks about being changed by the renewing of your mind. And I think that it seems like you're the epitome of that, if you will. And I think that another thing I've been reading about is the idea of masterminding and just being around people that are kind of like-minded, and not just to be a bias, but to help you grow and move towards a certain goal and direction. And it sounds like you have that team surrounding you. I mean, it sounds like that obviously played a very important role you know, when you didn't have that, I guess that team, how are you able to persevere to continue through your goals? Is it just mindset? Is it just the decision to keep going?
Yeah, definitely. I would say just like, again, just like being like very self-motivated and driven. And like when I set my mind to something, like I'm gonna do it. But I think also like I don't necessarily feel like I like have to prove people wrong, but like, you know, sometimes like when it like the going gets tough, I think of like that like boy that was super mean to me like growing up.
Wow.
And I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna do this. And I feel like stuff like that still definitely still like motivates me. Or like when I'm trying to like get through a really hard run or something like that. There are definitely like, I guess, bullies and just mean people that I think of who do like honestly kind of give me that like extra push, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna do it. Like as much as I want to like do it for myself, there are still things like that I do think of that do kind of help me like keep pushing forward. And like, I mean, I don't know those people today, I don't obviously talk to them, but like I feel like there's so many moments in my life that I'll just like never forget, for like as hard as it was at that time. Like it has just honestly like been such a good motivation like when I needed it. So I feel like it's like a mix of both.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's good. That's awesome. I think it's all, you make it just seem so very cut, clear and dry, you know, just understand what you're working towards, take care of your body and your mind in the process. You know, one thing I would do when I was working out, I'd be tired, like at the gym or something. I'd put on like a motivational speech or something like that. And even though I'm tired, my body and my brain start to hear like the truth that I believe, even though I'm not feeling it. So I guess one final question I would have before we close out would be, what are the things that help you move along and to keep your mindset sharp? Are you reading anything? Are you listening to anything?
So I've read David Goggins just so many times. But I feel like that to me, like no matter how many times I read it, I feel like I always feel like so inspired afterwards, even though like I know a story, like I know what happens, but like every time I read it, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. Like, or just like anytime you like post a video or something like that, like I will watch it like 10 times. And I just like the way he's so like blunt into the point. I feel like I just appreciate and respect that so much, because I would rather just have someone like be that way with me.
Yeah.
And so like to me, like he's the most inspiring person ever. But yeah, anything that I can do just like to stay. And I feel like his mental toughness is honestly like what I aspire to be. Maybe not quite as much, but like just his like mindset. So I mean, I'll like watch anything David Goggins related, no matter how many times I've watched it. I just continue to watch it all the time. And then definitely I've just kind of also stopped just like listening to music. I used to listen to a ton of music when I ran, and just kind of like stopping that and really just having time to like reflect and just like be present, I feel like has also been really good, just because you are like alone with your thoughts. And so when you're running, like if you like have a 20-mile run, you know, like you really just have to like keep your mind going or just kind of zone out. But I feel like I've been more like just like self-aware of just like so many things. And I feel like that's really given me a lot of time just to kind of like think and meditate through a lot. And I think, just like continuing to like keep pushing towards your goals, and just like, I don't know, I think like every day I'm like, okay, like it's one day closer, one day closer. And I feel like that just every morning I wake up and I'm so excited, because I'm like, oh, I get to run today. And I feel like it's getting like closer to my like hopeful 100-miler. So I feel like that also has like helped too, just kind of having a big goal like that to work towards every day definitely like helps keep me like motivated.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I'm tracking your journey. I see that this week you're on a down week, which I think is awesome. I'm like, man, I was thinking coming into this week, like, I should do a down week. And then I saw you post about it. So I was like, I don't know. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't.
Do it. It's hard, but it's like so good. Yeah.
No, it's funny because I'm training for 30-milers, not 30-mile run, but 30-mile run week. And
that's awesome.
That's what my wife was like, yeah, I was thinking about doing 7 today, but I might just go out and do 5. And she looks at me like, I was like, well, to be fair, I'm like, there's a lady named Miss Lindsay Walter who did like 25 on a, you know, just because she had to do that. So I was like, you think 5 is a lot? I'm not casually running 25 miles today.
Yeah, which is another thing too. I feel like it's so crazy. Just honestly, like looking back, sometimes I'm like, wow, it's like crazy that like I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go like run 25 miles. That like my body can actually do that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. It's just honestly, it's like amazing what the human body and like the human mind can do. Like when you like really like push it and you're consistent, like it's just amazing like what it like is capable of.
Yeah, I agree. There's like a belief that is raised in your mind and in your body when it's performed, you know, and it's performed and you're taking care of it. And it's kind of funny going back to David Goggins and to you. So I had made a plan in my mind years ago that I wanted to do an ultra marathon, and then going through my health journey, did my first marathon second marathon 2016. So this was post treatments, and then kind of building up. But every year, like October through December, I get sick because of my immune system and stuff. And finally, 2018, I had my breakthrough. Did my first ultra in January of 2019. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. Like the Marine Corps Marathon, did a 50K that same year. And then I didn't have any training, but I actually had a leg injury. I was out for like 60 days or so. I didn't run for 60 days. I had a hamstring injury. And then I was with the Marine at the Marine Corps Marathon Expo. And I was like, yeah, I was holding a bag, and this lady from the Marine Corps, Semper Fi phone, was like, oh, like, you doing the race? I was like, no, I wanted to, but I didn't sign up in time. I was hoping to do the 50K. So like, oh, let's go talk to the director, So on like 4 hours of sleep and no training, I ended up running the Marine Corps Marathon 50K. And then
that's awesome.
yeah, I ended up PRing from the 50K that I did in January. And then I was thinking about a 50 miler this year. And I was like, well, if I did it, it'd take about 16 hours at a 20-minute pace if I decided to do some walking or whatever. And then I was like, I'd have to start like 4 in.the morning, be done by 8 p.m. And then there's one that I'm just dealing with insomnia. And then I see you had posted something about like 4x4x4x48.
Yeah. Yep. The David Goggins challenge.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, so what is that? It's just
4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. Yeah.
Okay. What does that come out to, I guess, as far as mileage? Anyway, so I was thinking it was 48.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I was thinking it was 48 miles in 48 hours. I was like, well, I want to do 50. I don't want to just do 48,
I know.
And it just so happened to be, it's like 3:50 a.m. and I'm like, and I had a knee injury too, like my sartorial tendon and my patellar tendon were swollen. And
oh, wow.
I'm like, let me just go out to see. I noticed like the week before, like just jogging up a hill, like helped put the right tension on it, and I'd walk back down. So I basically did a run walk for like 5 miles at like 4 in.the morning, and then I text my wife and I'm like, I'm doing a 50 miler today, and then
that's wild.
yeah, it was wild. So I don't know. All that to say, you're very inspirational, and that mindset carries
Thank
over
you.
to other people's lives. So keep doing what you're doing, and maybe I'll join you on a whim for that the 100 miler. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me know. Let me know. March 13th.
Yeah. I haven't trained for it. I'm trying to get down. I'm trying to break I had a goal this year for a 1,500 meter break in a 5-minute. Did a 450, and then now I want to get down to like the 440s, 430s. It's kind of my goal right now. But, and then because of COVID, the races I wanted to participate in didn't happen. So it's like you said, just okay, I could do my 50 miler, and I could do the Marine Corps trifecta. So that was like another day where I'm like, I'll just go through 63.6 miles today, So.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, I feel like COVID, for as like hard as it's been from just like a race setting, I feel like it really has just made me appreciate running so much more, but also giving me like an opportunity to just like have different goals. And like honestly, having a break from marathon running, I thought would be like the hardest thing. But honestly, I feel like it's been really good just to kind of have like shifted my mindset from like always like, looking at splits and like trying to go super fast and just like all the tempo runs. And now it's just like the longer, easy miles. I feel like has just made me enjoy running so much more, just because I'm like, I'm not worried about if I'm hitting a split. Like I'm not feeling myself like getting frustrated at all, just because I'm like, my goal is just like to finish this 25-mile run. Like it's not necessarily like a time goal. So I feel like it honestly has been like a breath of fresh air. And like when I do get back into marathon training, like hopefully after my 100 miler, I feel like I'm just going to enjoy it so much more, just because like having like a really great break, like, I was still running and still like working on it and everything, but like to get back into it, I feel like I'm going to be like so grateful for it. But I feel like it's honestly been like good, which I mean, at first I was like, this is the worst thing ever. Like no Boston, I don't know what I'm going to do. But now I'm like, wow, it actually hasn't been as bad as like what I thought it would, like originally was going to be.
Yeah. So it sounds like last point, I guess, it sounds like you kind of adjusted your goals. There's things that you wanted to do now because of COVID, you have opportunity to try those things out, which is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, when things were like first happening this spring and like all my marathons that I was looking forward to were canceled, like it was definitely like really hard to deal with at first to accept like I wasn't going to get to run Boston. I wasn't going to get to do Marine Corps and just like so many other things that I was like looking forward to. But I feel like it also, I was like, okay, like I can either just like sulk and be mad about it, or I can just like set a new goal and just like do something else. So it's kind of like that choice just to, I don't know, just like chase down a new goal, which I probably wouldn't have done just because I wouldn't have had the time for it, or it just wouldn't have like worked into my schedule. But I feel like it's kind of been like a blessing in disguise almost in some regards.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we're running on time, so I'll ask 2 questions. Tell me about St. Jude, how you participate with St. Jude, and what they're all about for the audience, and how people can get involved.
So I'm a St. Jude hero and ambassador. So it's in Memphis, Tennessee, St. Jude Children's Hospital. And just for like childhood cancer, obviously a lot of kids are there. It's really sad. But no family ever receives a bill. So when they're there, their goal is just to be with their child, to love on their child, and they just want them to get better. So parents aren't worried about any kind of like finances at all. They can stay with their kids and not have to worry about like food or hotels or anything like that. And so every time you donate to St. Jude, it's going to help that, or just the treatments at all, and just have had the opportunity to visit St. Jude in person and just to see like, it truly is such an amazing place, and just like the work they do. And I mean, it's sad. I feel like no kid especially should ever have any kind of thing like that, or their life should never be cut short. And those are just honestly like the bravest kids ever. And yeah, it's honestly just a huge honor to be affiliated with St. Jude.
That's awesome. And did you cover that? How can people get involved with St. Jude?
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
So yes, you can definitely just like go on their website. It's like super easy to navigate. You can do a fundraiser yourself. You don't necessarily like have to be a runner to fundraise for St. Jude. There's many different ways that you can get involved. A lot of people do it through like different kind of races, whether it's 5Ks, half marathons, kind of things like that. So you can like donate that way. Or there's just a ton of other ways that you can just become involved and just donate, but it's all on their website.
Awesome. Appreciate that. And then, last thing I want to touch on, you got about 20 seconds. The stage is yours. What message do you want to give out to the world that you feel is important?
I think just like dream all the big dreams, and don't let anybody ever tell you that you can't do anything that you really want, or that you're going to set your mind to, and that it's okay to fail, but just like to lace back up and get back out there, and just honestly be grateful. Be grateful for everything you have. And life seems really hard, it's not going your way. Make a list of everything that you're grateful for, and I promise it will outweigh any of the negatives, and that your list will be much longer than you thought it was.
That's amazing. And that was probably quicker than 20 seconds.
No,
you're good. You're good. Lindsay, I definitely appreciate your time. Thank you for just being willing to come on here to discuss. I think the biggest takeaway for me again is goal setting is almost like a mindset. You have to be intentional about it, understand what you want, drown out the naysayers, drown out the doubt, fill your mind with positive things that's gonna get you. I think this is just me kind of preaching right now, but through reflecting on action and knowing that your body's able to do something, it kind of gives you the foundation to keep moving forward. And I think the biggest thing is just getting started. And I think you are a great example and a shining light for everybody. And I appreciate your time. Check Lindsay out on Instagram. Well, Lindsay, thank you again for your time, and good luck with your training. Continue to stay positive, and
thank you.
Get some donuts, treat yourself.
Yeah. Looking forward to that tomorrow.
Nice.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. Thank you.